Wait. Before we start, just want to make sure we're clear here. While this podcast talks about sobriety, mental health, and addiction, it is not meant to replace professional medical advice. Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety.
I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Sonia.
And we're ex-sisters-in-law, brought together in marriage and bonded through our sobriety journey.
Join us as we talk sobriety, addiction, and everything in between. You're in for quite a ride. And our Substack is buzzing with amazing content, from creative mocktail recipes to insightful courses and reflective exercises. There is something for everyone. Don't miss out. It's a great way to add some extra joy and depth to your journey. Check it out. Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety. Today's guest is Braunwyn Wyndham Burke, an advocate, former Real Housewives of Orange County cast member, and mother of 7 who let viewers watch her sobriety unfold in real time. So today we're going to talk about the progression of her drinking, what it meant to get sober in public, the role of 12 steps, what it's like to be queer in recovery spaces, and how sobriety reshaped her identity, and how her relationship to beauty and aging has changed in recent years. Welcome, Braunwyn.
It's so good to be here. I just want to say I recently got remarried, so it's Braunwyn Spinner now.
Braunwyn Spinner. Have you dropped Wyndham and Burke?
Yes, I'm just Braunwyn Spinner.
Loving it. I'm editing this right now in my notes. Braunwyn Spinner. So for people who know you from RHOC, but they don't know the full story, how do you introduce yourself now in this chapter of your life?
I mean, I live out in the country in Tennessee, so I just introduce myself as Braunwyn, or most likely you're going to hear me say, hi, I'm Cola's mom. Hi, I'm Hazel's mom. Hi, I'm Keith and Curran's mom. That's usually how I introduce myself.
Mom is your...
Yeah.
So let us get started talking about your drinking. You've said you started drinking at 14, and from the beginning, it was never particularly casual. When you look back, like what was alcohol doing for you back then? And do you remember that first drink?
I remember that first drink vividly. I grew up in Laguna in Orange County, and there was a beach there called Rock Pile. And there was, the rocks behind the beach, and all the teenagers would kind of congregate there to drink. And it was a warm Keystone. And I had about 4 of them in quick succession. And I remember feeling comfortable in my skin for the first time. I was a kid that moved around a lot. I was always trying to fit in. I never quite felt like I did. I always felt a little bit less than, super insecure. All of which followed me into adulthood. But drinking took that all away. I just felt comfortable in my skin. And then I went home and I threw up. And I think that was sort of how my drinking was throughout high school and college. I drank usually till I puked. But it didn't seem weird at the time, because I feel like a lot of people were drinking. Like none of us knew how to drink. We were young. We were high school kids. But that's how it started.
Did you connect that, the insecurity, the reasons you were drinking? When did you start connecting those dots? Was it once you got sober, or did you always kind of know?
No, once I got sober the 3rd time. And right now, this is my 3rd time getting sober. So this last go at it. I did AA the first 2 times I got sober, but I was fighting it. I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I wanted to find a way to drink, reasonably. So I didn't go into AA those first few times with the right mindset. By the time I went to AA the 3rd time, I was on my knees, broken. I didn't need to fix what I thought AA couldn't give me. I just needed to suck it up, listen, and take what AA was offering me.
And so when you talk about getting sober multiple times, when I look, I will say, so we're the same age. And like, one of the reasons I think I didn't have kids is because the idea of going 9 months without drinking was terrifying. And so I don't know if I would have ever admitted it at the time, but you were going long stretches, like 7 kids, like you were going these long stretches without drinking. So were you able to maybe convince yourself you didn't have a problem because you were able?
Absolutely. I think the longest stretch I went was 7 years.
Yeah.
I wasn't working a program. I wasn't identifying as an alcoholic. So I had convinced myself that I was okay because I was fine not picking up a drink. But I've never had a problem going long time without drinking. What my issue has always been, what happens once you do drink? I can go, even like when I was on the show, I could go 2 weeks without a drink, no problem. But
Yeah.
it gives me one. If I were to go over, my wife drinks, we have a little wet bar over there. If I were to go get a drink right now and drink it, I would continuously drink. I would be 6 drinks in. I would be hammered. I would throw up. I would pass it.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. That is how I drink.
So binge drinking was your, yeah. So
And I do
what,
think, like a lot of people, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not an alcoholic. I just spent 2 weeks without drinking.
yeah. Yeah.
And I always want to explain to people that's not what being an alcoholic is. It's not how long you can go without drinking. It's what happens when you do.
And so what was then the progression in the years maybe before we saw you on TV? Was it just like, were you binge drinking more and more often? Were your binges becoming longer? Were they becoming like worse? What was the progression like?
I had been sober until I got the show. I think my youngest, Hazel, was about 9 months old when I got the show. And I've nursed all my babies for 1 to 2 years. So when I'm nursing, I don't drink. So I weaned Hazel to start filming the show because I knew what the schedule was going to be like. And I was still nursing like around the clock. So I weaned Hazel for the show. And now I wasn't pregnant and I wasn't nursing for the first time in 7 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I'm on TV. This is fun. This is safe. Because the safety of filming is something that you can't quite explain until you're in it. You are in a bubble. You have a safe ride home. Nothing bad's going to happen to you. There's a ton of people looking out for you. You are safe in a way that I've never felt safe before with drinking. Because as a woman, you always have to have that one part of you that will keep you from being assaulted or something. You know, like we know better. We have to keep one eye open. When you're filming, you don't have to. There is a team of people protecting you, encouraging bad behavior. Things that you would never do in real life are encouraged. So my drinking was off to the races in a way that I don't think it would have been if I hadn't been on TV.
Yeah.
Because I had bumper rails. You know, if I got too drunk and couldn't walk, someone would get me home. Like it was the perfect storm for someone like me. So I started drinking when we started filming that first year.
So what was the acceleration of that? And then was there like a moment that you can look back on and say like, you were like, I can't do this anymore?
So I think for me, the acceleration started with the show. I was incredibly anxious. Anyone that watches these shows knows that you're put into these situations where there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension. People are yelling at you. I had never been in a situation like that in my life. So I was drinking more for the anxiety of it all. You know, I don't do well with conflicts. I like to avoid it. So for me in that situation, it for sure made my drinking worse. The moment of clarity I had, and I've told this story many, many times, I was in a hotel room in Miami. And I had sworn when I had kids, I would never do cocaine again. And I had been at a birthday party that weekend in Miami, and the person hosting it had offered it. And I was like, okay. And that moment, I went back to my hotel room and I said, you have a problem. You cannot. You know, drugs aren't like they were when you were in high school and college. People die from them now. You know, fentanyl wasn't around when I was young. It is very prevalent now. So I'm at this hotel in Miami, and this is the second time this has happened. I had a voice that wasn't mine. And I do have these moments I call God shots, where a voice in my head, not mine, said, this ends now. And I got up out of the bed. I'd been drinking every 15 minutes at this point to keep the shakes away. And I went to where, at this point, my ex-husband was disgusted by me. So he was sleeping in another room. And I went in there and I said, I need help. I have a problem. And he had to sit on me, physically restrain me because the shaking was, looking back, I know this is very dangerous. We should not have done this.
Yeah.
So I want to, say that don't ever get sober when you're drinking as much as I did on my own.
Yeah.
But he sat on me and I went through withdrawal on an airplane flying back from Miami to California. And I have that photo. I have a photo of me on the plane. I don't ever want to feel the way that I did in that airport or that night ever again.
Ugh. I remember those days too. And so we talk a lot about
Rough. What was
the
your last drink? I always like to hear about someone's last drink.
so mine years later ends up being a funny story because we were out with another couple and she was pregnant and we were at a BYOB restaurant, an Italian restaurant, and we had taken way too much wine for the number of people, like way too many bottles. And I was surprised because my friend who was pregnant was like, I think I'm gonna have a couple of glasses of wine. And I was like, oh, and then I was she's drinking. I mean, I could have like 2, 3 bottles of wine. And I have no recollection of how I got home. I was with my ex-husband. And so the funny part is many, many years later, my husband ends up cheating on me with her. Yeah. So that was the last drink I had was with this woman.
Glad you can find that funny.
I know we were together for a really long time. So it was, yeah.
Well,
But
through
it's just,
my head is like, how can we dispose of the bodies with no one knowing?
I know, I know, I know, I know. But I think what's funny is that to me, it's like, it's kind of like this symbolic thing, right? Like in the idea that I was sort of in no way is my drinking anyone else's fault, but like enabled almost by
Oh,
these
yeah.
people. Like these were not healthy people to be around. This lady ended up sleeping with my husband. But I remember the next morning I went out and I had another pregnant friend. It was like around that time where I was like 38,
Right.
37, 30. All my friends were pregnant. And I was out with another girlfriend of mine pregnant for brunch. And when they came over and were like, do you want a mimosa? And I was like, I was so hungover that I was like, my vision was going. Like, when you start
Yes.
seeing the black, like every time you stand up
Right.
and I don't know if I'd ever said no to like hair of the dog. And I just was like, no, I don't want a mimosa. And I think I shocked myself by saying it. And I was a daily drinker. So it was, so I had to figure out how to get through the rest of that day without drinking. So I was like, okay, I said no to the mimosa, but how am I going to get through the rest of this
Exactly.
day? And I don't know. And that's the thing, like we were talking about before we started recording, like I do sometimes struggle with the God concept in AA, but
Yeah.
something, something helped me stay sober that day. Something. I don't know what it was. I thought, okay, I'm going to say no to this mimosa and I am going to try to not drink for the rest of the day. I had tried that 100 times and it hadn't worked.
Isn't it amazing how one day is different from all the others? And I think if someone's watching this and you've tried to get sober before in the past and it hasn't worked, like listen to our stories because
Yeah.
there will be a moment. And I don't know what it is for every person. Every person's different, but you will have a moment. Take it.
Take
Take
it.
that moment. You get a chance. I don't know what it is. The universe gives you a chance. Take
And
it. Listen.
I tried to get sober like twice a week
Yeah.
for probably 5 years. Like, so probably Mondays and Thursdays, I would say to myself on the way home from work or when I woke up, I'm not gonna drink tonight. And then on the way home from work, I would like go to the liquor store and pick up alcohol. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you don't know what day of the week it's going to be. You can plan for it, but I was really lucky I didn't have the shaking, but what I did have, like, so I didn't have the physical withdrawal that badly, but
Right.
I was crawling out of my skin for
So uncomfortable.
weeks.
Oh,
And so, yeah, we talk about those first 30 days, but we almost don't talk about it enough. But like, what were those first 30 days like? Let's say maybe from when you got over the physical withdrawal. Do you remember?
so I remember, oh God, I remember a lot. Because I was doing it all on camera. So I started filming at 8 days sober. And one of my first scenes, I'll never forget this, was we went over to Shannon's house and she had like tequila tasting. And no one knew that I was in recovery yet. I hadn't told anyone. So I walk into Shannon's house. I start crying. I just immediately. Now, none of my castmates know why I'm crying. They just thought, oh, Braunwyn's crying again. But I am 8 days sober.
Oh,
And that was hard. I was hiding behind the trash can so they couldn't film me. I threw off my mic. I went home. And what I thought was going to be the worst day of my life, because I thought I was going to relapse. This is 8 days sober. I said that I lied. I said I was going to a meeting and I had a full on plan to go drink. But I thought, hey, if I tell them I'm going to a meeting, they can't follow me because they're allowed to like follow you into your home, whatever. Like they have that right. So I get in my car pretending to drive to a meeting, thinking I'm going to drive to a bar. And one of my producers jumps in the car with me with a handheld camera. And I'm like, this MF, like, I can't believe he's going to film an AA meeting. He's like, oh, no, I can't film the meetings, but I'm going to film you going and coming back. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I got to go.
You have to go.
So I drive to this meeting and then, we're looking for parking. I'm all flustered. We finally park. And he's like, do you want me to come in with you? And I was like, yeah, actually, that would be great. Because now I'm freaked out that I'm on a TV show. My ego is the size of Texas. And I'm about to walk into this room. And I'm like, yes. We go in there and something happened in that room that changed the trajectory of my life and got me to go to meetings. We're going around and they get to him and he says, my name is so-and-so and I'm an alcoholic. And he looks at me and says, I couldn't intervene, but I knew exactly what you're about to do. And all I could do was pick up the camera and film it. And and he knows this, I've shared this many times. He saved my life and got my ass into those meetings. And that was the first meeting I went to. And then I kept going back. I get chills every time I share the story.
Chills.
Because, and then I will say, biggest blessings to the show. They kind of, there's different producers. There's like 6 or 7 producers, like 3 main ones you work with. They let me work with him the most. They knew that he was sober. They knew, my producers knew that I wasn't faking being an alcoholic. So they kept him by my side that whole season. And I'm really grateful for that. Oh my God, I'm so grateful to this person. He knows it. He knows how grateful I am. I still get teary-eyed when I talk about him. He saved my life. And that's why whenever I talk about the show, as hard as it was and the ups and the downs, I will always be the most grateful cast member probably ever, because I got sober and I don't think I would have done it without the show.
In those 8 days before, and by the way, if I showed up and someone was having a tequila tasting, I would start crying right now. And it's been 9 years. And if there was like no tacos or something, like if it was like a foodless tequila tasting, I would start crying and leave. It would be enough for me to go to an 8 days.
Yeah, those first 8 days, you should not be like in public for one. And like, not at an event.
Oh, so the moment you tell your ex-husband and then you start filming, in these days, are you thinking I'm an alcoholic, or are you still sort of like, you're not bargaining? So by the time you go into the meeting, the first meeting, you're like, okay, I'm an alcoholic. Like, you're not struggling with the label at all.
By that point, I knew I was an alcoholic, and I was okay admitting it. And I was, but for me, going to AA was embarrassing. I was embarrassed. Like that, I'm very honest. I was embarrassed to walk into that door. Looking back, I don't know why. And did I know people in that room? Yeah, I did. Did they judge me? No, they didn't. There was people from my Orange Theory group that I was saying I went to. There were some people in the meeting. I was like, hi. And they were, and they were just so welcoming, and it was so easy, and it was just so comforting.
And so for the rest of that, I hate describing people's lives like in seasons of TV shows, but like like yours is sort of an extreme version of something we talk about on the podcast, which is, what do you do when your social life is built around alcohol, and like what changes can you make, and how do your relationships with your friends change? And so that was sort of like put on steroids, right, for you. And so all of a sudden, if a lot of your interactions are based around alcohol, like how did you, and even really, what are some like little nuggets our listeners can take away? Like, how did you deal with this? Like, how do you even deal with it now?
I mean, how did I deal with it then?
Yeah.
It was 2020. I was at home. We were all at home. So I had no FOMO. I didn't have to turn down events. Nothing was happening. Which, obviously the pandemic was horrible and I can't negate that, how many people lost their lives. I don't want to ever take away from that. But for me, in my own, struggles personally, the timing was pretty perfect because I just was stuck at home, sober with my thoughts. Um, I couldn't do the other things I do. So besides drinking, I like to shop. I like to plan parties. I like to go on vacation. I like to do anything but be present in myself. So not only did the pandemic take, here I am getting sober. Well, you also don't have any parties to go to or anything to buy because you're not leaving your house. Like you have enough pajamas. You're not going on a trip. You're at home. So that's when I started doing more work and reading Glennon Doyle. And that's when my sexuality started coming out. And like, my sponsor was actually the one that said, "Sweetie, I think you're gay." Because I didn't even know it. I was so in this bubble of my life, which is stay-at-home mom, white, housewife, that I couldn't see the bigger picture of what was becoming in my soul at the time. So it was a lot. It was a lot at once. But what do I do now to finish the question? My life still, like a lot of my life still revolves around people that are drinking. I'm lucky that I'm sober and queer because we have a huge network. I think the statistics on queer people, it's 40 times more likely to abuse substances. So once you get to your 50s and you're queer, you're either sober or you're dead. Like that's kind of how I look at it. So half of my best friends are sober and have great stories and they're still super fun. Half of my friends drink normally, but like I can be out at drag shows. I can be out at bars. We hosted an event, at a nightclub the other night. No effect on me. I do not want to drink.
And do you think so after, let's say, the first few weeks and you were still filming, how difficult was staying sober in that social environment?
So hard. So hard because drinking is pretty prevalent on the show and it does take away that anxiety. I remember at one point my nerves were so shot. My blood pressure was like 120 over like 150 over 110. That's how nervous I was. So not having it to film was very hard on me. I was also very cognizant of making choices that other people could follow. So at one point, we're all going on vacation. There's always a cast trip. And ours was local because of COVID. So I wanted to drive myself. I wasn't going to stay in the house with the other women. If I knew they were drinking, I said, I'll go, but I'm going to get my own hotel room. Not for nothing. I can't tell people watching this that it's okay to be a month sober and going on, a drunk girls trip. No. I mean, in retrospect, keep your ass home. But since I couldn't do that, I had my own hotel room and I had my own car so that I could be in charge when I got to leave and come because I didn't know when I was going to get triggered. I didn't know what was going to trigger me. I didn't have enough knowledge. So I wasn't probably the easiest cast member to work with because they'd be like, "We need you to stay." And I'd be like, "But I got to go." But at the end of the day, I chose my life over the show. And I don't regret that at all.
When I go out with my girlfriends who drink, I still drive myself. I always have my own car so that if I do start to feel a little like squirrely, I can like.
Still, people make fun of me because they own the first one down. I like to be in bed by 8:39. I like to go to bed early. I wake up early. I still go out. I call it the fun limit. I leave here. I leave right here.
Yeah.
And when you're sober, you know when the fun limit is. You're like, okay, this is all the fun we're going to have tonight. I'm going to bed.
Yeah. Nothing good happens after 10 p.m.
Yeah, I'm very.
But I want to ask you about coming out as queer and what you're saying is realizing you were gay for the first time when you're getting sober. Was this connected? And you're saying your sponsor kind of told you, were you working through the steps and starting to realize like, wait, maybe there is something here that I've been hiding or that and how do you look at it? Do you look at it as you were living outside of alignment with yourself? Were you hiding something? What is it? How would you explain it?
I think for you to fully, like for people, especially younger people, to fully understand, they'd have to understand what the 80s and 90s were like.
Mhm.
That's when I was growing up.
Yeah.
There was no kids coming out in high school. We had one kid that came out in all my years of high school,
Yeah.
and he was relentlessly bullied. You know, we use gay as an insult. Um, I I saw like lesbians, but they were very like butch and wearing flannel. I didn't know that your favorite color could be pink and you like dresses and you could be gay. That being said, once I got to like college, I did start experimenting with girls, but I was always super messed up. And I was like, oh, I'm just crazy. Oh, I'm a free spirit. Um, when I got a little bit older, I had a relationship with a woman, kind of with my husband, my ex husband at the time. And I thought that was enough because I wanted the family life. I wanted the picket fence. I wanted all of those things. And I truly did not understand that you could have those with a woman until I mean, that was 2020. Like, it didn't even occur to me that I could have that with a woman. And then once I got sober, I was working the steps. I was going through resentment. And emotions and words my ex husband. And that's when my sponsor's like, 3 days. I think you might have it.
You don't hate this guy. It's not just that you
Right.
hate the, yeah.
And so, and I had a really good friend at the time who helped me sort of, I was so uncomfortable. So she kind of helped me like dabble the waters and everything. I was very honest with Sean about, you know, my ex-husband about where I was mentally, but it definitely wasn't the easiest coming out. But then TMZ got a photo of me and my ex-girlfriend and they really just blew the lid on that and everything worked out for the best.
And during that period, were you hesitant to, it's kind of like, was there this bargaining almost like there was with alcohol where it's like, well, maybe I'm not all the way, maybe I'm not, or
Oh, yes,
yeah.
definitely. And keep in mind, I never hooked up with a girl sober.
Mhm.
So my first sober kiss with a woman, I knew. I knew. And I told Sean that day. Yeah. Oh God, I knew. It was like heaven. And all those things that I'd read about, I'd never understood love songs. Taylor Swift made no sense to me. And then all of a sudden I was like, I love Taylor Swift. I understand what people are talking about with these movies. Like I felt something I had never felt before. I thought because of my childhood, I was just emotionally dead inside.
Yeah.
Like I really did.
Mhm.
And that kiss just made me realize, oh, I'm not dead inside. You're just gay, honey.
Do you think if you had kept drinking, you would have eventually come to this realization,
No.
or was the drinking kind of like putting a blanket like over all
It's,
this?
I think the drinking one, it put a blanket on it, but my ex-husband was very, very much, we were codependents. So I don't think I could have, I think if I had stayed with my ex-husband, still drinking, I could have squashed it. He would have kept everything. He kept everything going. He was my savior. And he liked when I drank because I was very needy. And I needed him. I never really needed him. And I think he knew that I didn't feel for him the way he felt about me on some level. So he liked when I was drinking. He didn't like it as much when I was sober. But no, if I was still drinking, I would stay with him because it was easy. My life is not easy anymore. Like I struggle financially. I have a very different life than the housewives life. So it would have been a lot easier to stay married and stay drunk, but it wouldn't have been real, and I probably would be dead now.
I think what's hard, and I sometimes have a hard time on the podcast saying that me getting sober really is what ended my marriage. I think that my ex found me a lot easier to control
Damn it.
when I was drinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. And also and also there is the very real thing where I wasn't fun, in the same way. I wasn't providing the same level of, I guess, entertainment. But did were there cracks in the marriage and that in your sobriety really widened them? Or like what do you see as sort of the trajectory of that? And I always tell people too, I'm like, it seems like for me, it's not a tragedy that my marriage ended because I got sober. Like it's okay,
No,
you
I say
know?
congratulations when women our age are getting divorced.
Yeah, it's
Congratulations. It's
kind
so freeing.
yeah,
It
it's
is.
okay. And it's like I look the options, if the option was for me to keep drinking, to keep this, 20-year relationship going, like that wasn't an option. So it's okay. And I'm happy he's,
Yeah.
with the pregnant lady who drinks, you know what I
So I'm asking, does the pregnant lady drink?
oh,
Because my
heavy
my
drinker.
ex-husband is his new girlfriend drinks a lot.
Heavy, yes.
Yeah.
So I thought I it was actually it made me feel better that
Yeah.
he left me or I look, I hate the wording he left me for someone, but that who he wanted was someone who I will never be again. I never and so that's okay. So if he had left me for a smart, funny podcaster who didn't drink, that would be like harder to take. But he left me for
Yes.
this like and so
Someone
someone who
else that needs to be
yeah.
controlled and managed.
And it's funny because he left me for, another dentist who I don't practice anymore. So, a super ambitious dentist, someone who loves to go out, like, wants to go out 4, 5, 6 nights a week and get home late. And so
Oh god, that sounds exhausting.
sounds miserable. So, yeah,
That's
I
so
feel
cool.
yes, but sorry I interrupt, but yeah, so the trajectory to recap for me was I got sober. I was 5 years sober, and then the marriage just, like, imploded. When you would think that, like, I had been drinking for the first 15 years and we were great, but were we? Who knows?
Yeah, no, I understand all of that. 'Cause
Yeah.
that like, yeah. So I mean, it's such a weird dynamic when you have to put all the pieces and then you're dealing with yeah. It's it's interesting, but no,
So
I
what
guess
yeah, what came first for you? So was it the you got sober and then it yeah, did it show the cracks?
well, we hadn't been sleeping in the same bedroom for like a long time. So I had always had my kids in bed with
Yeah.
me when I was nerd. Like, so we had just always, we'd gotten used to sleeping in different rooms and we were friends. I actually hope we can get to that place again. We were more like family. I think of him like a brother. And I think that sort of was also part of the problem. He's my family. We've been together since we were teenagers. Like, we were together for 28 years from the time we were kids. So our relationship was fine. It was just, we weren't husband and wife. We were family, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
And I
does.
still, even though like he drives me crazy and he does a lot of things I hate, I still think of him like a brother.
And so when you realized you were queer, were you guys still together or you were co-parenting or what was
We were doing something called nesting. It's
ah
something that people do nowadays.
yeah.
That's I think a horrible idea. If you want to try it, go for it. Get back to me. It did not work for us. So we did nesting where I would stay in the house a week and then I would go to New York for a week and then he would be in the house and then he would go to his ex-girlfriend's house for a week. So the kids stayed in the house. And looking back, I can see how it's good for the kids until you figure stuff out. But it was us cohabitating with him bringing other women back to that house did not sit well with me. I'm not a fan of having other women in my space unless I'm married to them.
Yeah. How do you feel like your parenting has changed since you've gotten sober?
I mean, it's when you're drunk. I'm a lot more fun when I was drunk, but I'm not present.
Mm.
So I'm more likely to throw a last minute party for all your friends, but I'm not really there for it. I've never been really a strict parent. I've always sort of been, my wife is more of the strict parent, but I think I care more about routine and making it to school on time and, just the normal basic stuff. I haven't forgotten the tooth fairy since I got sober. That's like a big deal. You know what I mean? I used to pass out and not remember to do it. The tooth fairy always comes.
And so we talked a little bit before we started recording about living amends to your kids. What did they take from your drinking? Did they know? Did they
Oh,
sense something was off? Like what did
my old
they
kids are adults. So I have three
yeah.
adult children. I have 4 little kids at home, but I have 3 adult children. And they're really proud of me. Not only did they see that I got sober, but they've seen all of the work that I had done on my mental health because I didn't get sober and get sane. It wasn't like I put down the drink and I was okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
I was not. I was much worse off when I put down that drink for about 2 years, maybe 3. I was insane. I can't even make my mental breakdown look attractive. I had a full blown mental breakdown about 3 years into sobriety. And my older kids saw what got me there and then saw what I did to pull myself out of it. So they're really proud of me. They're proud of me for not drinking and they're proud of me for going through what I went through with this divorce and what my ex tried to do to me and literally lifelining my way out of it.
Why
And
do yeah.
and that's I think also for my daughters. I have 5 daughters. Seeing that your life can, not be built around someone else. You cannot depend on another person to pay your bills and take care of you. Like you have to fend for yourself.
Why
But
do sometimes we
yeah.
feel worse when we first get sober before we feel better? Like, why do we sometimes mentally? Because, yeah, what is your take on that? Because I think we all sort of have gone through that where for me, it was like you're taking away my one coping mechanism.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause that's what I used to cope with insecurity. That's what I used for all of that stuff that I wasn't ready to deal with. Alcohol protected me from it. There's a lot of things in my childhood and stuff that weren't great. Alcohol kind of took that away for a while. And maybe I needed it to get through what I did. Like maybe I had to have alcohol or I wouldn't have gotten through it. Maybe that had to be my crutch, but it no longer serves me. But I'm very lucky too, I will say. I have super cool kids going back to how and parenting differently. My kids are all some are straight, some aren't. But like our family has pretty much every letter of the rainbow. We've got the L, the G, the B, the T, the Q. Yeah, we got them all. So raising my kids as a queer woman is actually really great. And being that I have a non-binary role model for some of the kids, that's like priceless.
what do you attribute that increase in percentage for queer people and addiction? Like, what is that connection to you? Like, why is it that you think queer people can struggle more with addiction?
So I live in a very religious state. And I see firsthand with my friends the consequences of all that religious guilt on queer people. Um, and it kills people. It is very hard for me to live in a place with so many Christians that are so wrong in how they're practicing. Like, you're not doing it right. You're literally killing children. This is a hard place. And if you're brought up being told your whole life that you're going to hell and you're evil, that's going to stick with you. I luckily didn't have any of the religious trauma that a lot of my friends have, but there's that. There's the feeling of not fitting in. Like I remember my friendships with my girlfriends, and one of them I have a lot of friends that I've had since I was a child. Like these crushes that I used to have, I didn't have the words for them.
Mhm.
So all of those things in the queer community, I identify as female. I'm a cis woman. I have watched one of my children go through, gender dysmorphia. That's not an easy thing when your own identity doesn't match up with who you are. So you look at why does the queer community drink so much more?
Mhm.
Take your pick. We have everything coming at us. Now we have legislation. We have our schools are being turned against us. There's no safe places in our kids' schools here. They got rid of all the GSA Alliance, which has been shown to, save lives. The teachers aren't even allowed to call you by your pronouns or your right name. Like every single day, we're getting told why we're not welcome in this country. This is why we don't like you. This is why you deserve to be died. You have a mental disorder. Do you know how many times people tell me that? Which I have many, but being gay isn't one of them. um, but like, yeah, we're going to use drugs more. We're going to try to kill ourselves more.
Yeah.
And this is external pressure that is not even real, that is being created by other people that is killing us.
How do you talk now to your kids about drugs and alcohol and especially your queer kids? Like, is there what is your stance now?
I mean, obviously, statistically speaking, some of my kids will be addicts. I know that. I don't know who it's going to be. So I'm very honest with them. The older kids, I'm honest at a different level because they're in their 20s. Like things that they know are very different than what I'm going to tell an 8-year-old. They all know mommy doesn't drink. They all know mommy's an alcoholic. They all, know the reasons why. They don't have memories of me drinking that much because it was only for about 9 months that I drank in their lives. But I do remember I was having, my friend brought over non-alcoholic wine and I was having a glass and the look of fear on their faces. And no, it's not real. It's just non-alcoholic wine. Which I'm not a big NA wine or beer person, but someone brought it over, so I was having it. I never liked alcohol in the taste.
Me neither. I know.
I'd rather
No
have a
interest in.
Sterling.
Yeah.
But so there was that there was a look. So, but I'm very honest. I'm very honest with them about drugs. Last 2 years ago, the junior high started to have some issues with prescription medicines. So I'm very open with my kids about that, about fentanyl, about overdose. Like I want to talk to them about not just the good and the bad and the ugly, but the actual, reasons behind doing it too. What are you actually feeling? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling insecure? My oldest daughter only drinks when she's happy. Well, she's pregnant now, so she's not drinking at all. But
Yes, congratulations.
her whole thing was, I'm only going to drink if I'm out having fun. I'm never going to drink because I'm sad.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that seems like the healthiest way to go.
Yeah. And in her brain, that was like, I will drink if I'm out having fun, but I'm not going to drink at home. And so I know that it weighs on my kids. They all know that because my dad died from this disease. So they know that this is a genetic disorder. I recently lost my stepfather, who'd been my stepfather from cancer. So I don't want to confuse the two, but my biological father passed away many, many years ago from this disease.
So when you talk about that emotional sobriety piece, where do you feel like you are in that sort of journey of like not using things to cope? Or do you still feel like, are you always sort of pulling yourself back from being addicted to something? Like I talk to a lot of people who are
Always pulling myself back from being addicted to something. I remember kava was something that I was like, oh, that'll help me feel relaxed. Within 2 days, I was drinking, shooting the bottle, which was supposed to last from like, no, I have to be careful. I can get addicted to sugar. I can get addicted, to nicotine. You name it. I have to be there's a feeling. I can feel it under my skin.
Yeah.
It's a wanting.
Yeah.
And I have to be very aware when I get that feeling, what is really wrong. And not spend money, not do all the other things that I've learned to cope. I have to sit with it and it's super uncomfortable. So where am I in my journey? I mean, I'm in therapy. I'm a big believer in SSRIs. I need them.
Me too.
So I'm on SSRIs. I'm in therapy. Where am I? I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm doing great and then something will just derail me. Like out of left field, something, obviously losing my father has been very hard. But then it brought up a lot of family dynamics that I didn't know. I wasn't prepared for. And that took me out for a day. I was just so sad. And like, would it have been nice to numb out? Yeah. I watched 90 Day Fiance instead. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I will watch Bridgerton.
There you go. Like,
And
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you do, but like the consequences of me watching Bridgerton and eating ice cream are far different than me.
Yes.
And so I sort of look at it in degrees of like,
Yeah. My wife gets mad because I drink tap water. She's like, you can't. I'm like, I used to buy drugs in the 90s in back alleys. This tap water's not what's taking me out.
I look at it like that way too. So I don't eat meat anymore. I don't smoke anymore. I don't drink anymore. I don't do any drugs. Like, really? Tap water? Like, it's fine. Like, who cares? And also I look at it this way too, that I've cut out so many things. I'm not going to cut out the joy of like ice cream. You know what I mean? Like if I want to eat something or if I want to binge watch a show, like I'm doing okay. And I think
You're doing good in life.
Yeah, this actually gets me to the next point that I wanted to talk to you about, which is this sort of obsession too with aging and wellness and beauty. Is that another thing that we can have a tendency to sort of get obsessive about? And is that something, I think that's something you've talked about that you've struggled with. And where do you sort of lie on that spectrum now? And did that change with you getting sober? And what was your relationship with your body and the way you looked before? And what is it now?
So I've had issues with my body since I remember. I think I remember being 9 and feeling fat. I was bulimic for many, many years. And literally the only thing that keeps me from being bulimic now is that I would have to go to another 12-step group, and I don't want to. I don't have time for that. So like, but that's really it. Like I cannot add anything more to my plate. I do not want to do any more. I'm not going over those 12 steps in another program. But that's definitely something that I still struggle with. I flew back to Orange County recently, and I was 15 pounds heavier, and we were going to do something for the show, and I felt horrible because on my social media right now, what I get a lot of is you've really let yourself go. When people call me a bad mom, it doesn't affect me because I'm not. When people call me like crazy or whatever, that doesn't affect me because, it doesn't. When people say I've really let myself go, that really does affect me because I feel that too. Like I don't have the finances to keep it up. I can't do the extensions. I can't do the nails. I can't do the fake hands. I can't do any of that stuff anymore. And so that is something that I'm working on, which for me is harder than anything else, is that feeling of like being enough in the skin you're in. And I think that's going to be a lifelong journey.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so were you at some point doing cosmetic procedures and like the Botox and fillers, and have you stopped doing
Oh,
that?
I did everything. If there was something new and someone wanted to try it on me, I have literally done everything. I've even gotten facelifts. Like I've done everything. But I think for now, like never say never because I'm obviously not 80 and who knows how I'm going to feel then. But like for now, I just like the way that I look. My wife thinks I'm beautiful. And honestly, for the first time in my life, I don't care if anyone else thinks I'm attractive but her.
Yeah.
She's the only one. This is a queerness thing too, which I have to delve more into. I'm not quite sure on how this works. But when you opt out of the patriarchy
Yes.
and your worth is no longer contingent on how a man values you, it's freeing in a way that I can't. And so this isn't just me and how I look isn't just sobriety. A lot of it is queerness and opting out of the matrix that we live in.
Yeah, like no longer trying to be desirable for the
The
male
male gaze.
gaze. Yeah.
It
Do you feel like that has changed how you see
100%.
yourself?
I no longer care what men think of me, but not just how I look. I don't care if they think I'm nice or friendly or polite. I don't care what men think.
That sounds so good.
So free. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not that I'm rude to them or mean to them. For the most part, I don't even notice them. They're like accessories to my friends, like, but like, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever you have to say, I don't care. I just,
Yeah. You mentioned briefly before that you were recording something for the show. And so what was it like going back and specifically, well, there was a lot of like talk around your drinking and were you a fake alcoholic or a real alcoholic? And so what did that feel like? Did you address it?
I,
I hate that sort of like you're not a
well,
real addict. Yeah.
I didn't have to address it. It was nice. So I've been asked to film other things over the past 5 years and I never felt ready. I was too anxious. I didn't want to take that on. My mental health wasn't ready for it. But this was the first time I was able to go back and I felt like I was ready. It was such a great experience. I didn't have to talk about my sobriety. I just, I order non-alcoholic drinks, period. But it was really nice to see everyone and be like, see, I really am sober. I really am clear. I got to bring my wife with me to film, which was amazing for everyone to meet Jen. And it was so nice to come back. It's like, you guys saw me last time. I was a hot mess of a disaster. I didn't know up from down. and no, I'm here. I'm settled. My life is simple. Like, I got this. It was a full circle moment. And I'm really grateful to Tamara for inviting me. And I always give her a shout out. She's held my hand through this whole thing. Like, she's been a really dear friend. So
Yeah.
she was like, it's time. Come back. We're ready to see you again.
And
I
she
love
goes through those periods where you can see her question her drinking, right? Or be,
I will say this because I know her in real life. She only drinks when she's filming.
Yeah,
Because
that's what she
she
says,
likes
right?
me. She's an introvert. And I know people give her a hard time because you don't. Tamara would get along well with us. She likes to be in bed by 8. She doesn't like to go out. She doesn't like to do all that. She does that on the show. So she drinks on the show because it helps us all out. Her real life, when she's not filming, she doesn't drink. So, but when she does drink, she makes good TV.
yeah. I know you say you don't really watch a lot of Real Housewives, but are you ever watching and cringing, being like, "Ooh, that person might have a drinking problem," or are you kind of like pretty non-judgmental when it comes to other? I sometimes can't help it, but I try to be like, not everyone has a problem. Just
No, I'm not judgmental, but I could also recognize a drinking problem. I don't judge you for it. But like, I know one when I see one.
yeah, yeah. There's this feeling I get when I'm out with people. There was this thing I used to do when I was out, which is I'd always be looking to order my next drink. And so I
Yes.
didn't want my drink to get too low before I was kind of like had an eye out for like the server and to see if I could order.
I would just go up to the bar and order 2 shots when no one was looking.
Yeah.
Forget waiting.
I would
It's
always have a
funny.
side drink. Like I would have the drink and then a side
You know,
drink.
drink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a side drink. But
It's fun now. My friends, if they're dating someone new, they'll call me for red flags. Okay, is this a red flag drinking behavior? And sometimes I'm like, yeah. Another
Yeah.
time, well, that's normal.
Braunwyn, you have lived through marriage, divorce, co-parenting, public scrutiny, now queer marriage and blended family structure. You've been through a lot. And your sobriety, but for people sitting here listening today, thinking like, I know I have a problem. I know I need to stop drinking, but I'm so overwhelmed. Where can they start?
I would say start now. And remember, the first 6 weeks are the hardest. So if you're only doing 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, if you're only doing those days over and over and over, you're never getting to the good part. You're just doing the hard part over and over and over. Give yourself 6 weeks.
That is the best advice, actually. And I think that about, and I got that advice from a Buddhist monk about all sort of habits or addictions. Just give yourself like 30 days or 6
Yes.
weeks. And that is, you're right. That, you know what? I had never thought about. You're just doing the hardest part over and over.
Yeah.
That is the best advice. Thank you so much for being on Sisters in Sobriety.
I'm so glad. This was so fun.
This was so fun. And thank you all for listening. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
This was Sisters in Sobriety.
Thank you for listening and being with us today.
If you want to learn more about sobriety and meet your community, find us at sistersinsobriety.substack.com.
Are you a sister in sobriety? Then reach out on social media. We'd love to hear from you.
If you're feeling generous, leave us 5 stars and a review and follow us wherever you listen.
You'll never miss an episode. Until next time.